everyone, I'm the Tailorette, a historical costumer and creative sewist, and today I will be talking about what sewing machine I recommend to purchase. Now, it's not necessary to have an industrial sewing machine like I do, because industrial sewing machines can sew stitches, miles of stitches, and not break down. These guys are not meant for that. If you are wanting to do something that is producing a ton of work every day, you're going to want to go for industrial sewing machine because they can go miles. But I know most of you are probably thinking practically, so I will be talking about home sewing machines and what I appreciate about my different home sewing machines. I have too many of them. This is technically not mine, it's my mom's, but I have another one somewhere else. So I have 3 home sewing machines. It's ridiculous. And I've burned through them all because I had to learn the hard way that I actually need an industrial sewing machine to not burn out my sewing machine. Okay, point number 1 is cheap is not a good sign. Cheap means that you actually are getting what you're paying for. So I would say anything under $200, you might want to do your research or check with those who know how to sew to make sure that that is a reputable sewing machine. You actually might end up associating the bad quality of the sewing machine with sewing itself, and sewing is not a bad sewing machine. So bad sewing machines and cheap sewing machines, they chew up fabric, they jam up all the time. Not all of them. There are machines out there that are made that are quality, but I am going to stay on the safe side and do not buy a machine that is under $200 if you want something that's going to last you and you're going to progress and move forward with your experience in sewing. Point number 2 is new does not mean better. It does not mean that it is better quality. Here's why. So newer machines, they are made of mostly plastic. Older machines are made of solid metal, which is super awesome because it can stitch through pretty much anything and it barely jams up because it is so durable and sturdy. With these kinds of machines, you might notice that it's hard to get your fabric through sometimes on certain seams, and that can get frustrating. However, that doesn't mean it's a bad machine altogether. It's just a reality of certain sewing machines. I do use these two. Well, these are newer. This is like 40 years and this is 35 years old. This one is probably like 60 years old. This is the best in my opinion, but these guys here do have a hard time. This one is a little bit better because it's made of more metal. You can't tell from the video, but it's actually made of solid metal on the inside. This one has more plastic parts. Also, another bummer thing about a new sewing machine is that they are mostly, a lot of them are computerized, not all of them. Some of them make the dials like this. I highly recommend dials. Even if you are into detailed sewing, I have had a lot of experience with sewing, but I prefer the dials. And a lot of people think, oh, well, that's for beginners. And to me, it's straightforward. You know exactly what you're getting. When it's on a certain number, it's going to give you that number. Computerized sewing machine, it might misfire and you might be getting different messages from it. And the parts on the computerized sewing machine, when those go out, they are super expensive to repair. And you can't repair it yourself. Whereas an older machine that has dials or is mostly made of metal, you can actually probably figure out how to repair it yourself and it's not as expensive. Now I'm going to talk about the cons of an older sewing machine. The only bummer about an older sewing machine like this one, not this one, featherweights in particular, they are starting to make parts for these. So if you purchase one of these, you will be able to find parts for it. That's the beauty of buying these older ones. This is an older one. This one is about 40 years old. It's mostly made of metal. However, if you want to change the parts on the inside, you'll probably have to purchase another sewing machine just like it to change the parts. And you say, wow, another sewing machine? I'm gonna have to pay $500 for another sewing machine? Actually, the great thing is these guys right here, you could probably get these for like $150. And they're super great with their stitches. And if you want to change certain parts, you could buy another one, granted that it actually works well, and actually change out the parts. I prefer to do that just because it's worth the quality stitch and the guarantee that it's going to be working well for me long term. This guy has been on a weak clutch for so long, I would say probably 5 years, and it's still holding up even though I need a new clutch. I know that sounds nuts, but if something like that went out on this guy, it's toast. Or anything else that's newer. You have to have it serviced. I would say there are new machines that are definitely worth purchasing. It's all a matter of what you prefer. Just make sure it's quality. That is the huge thing. Do your research. And I have a list of recommended brands that I would say all of their machines are worth using, whether they're their cheaper end or they're more expensive, that you can actually rely on those. So I'll put that list down in the description below. But for me personally, I like older sewing machines. I've had better experiences with them, and I like to think that grandma had it right. She had the better sewing machine than we did. Anyways, if your grandmother has a sewing machine and you're like, check this thing because it's old, make sure and see that it's worth using. Another thing you need to be careful of older sewing machines, not necessarily this one, but there are other older sewing machines that are made of solid metal, and they're a little bit bigger than this, and they're super great quality. The only thing is you want to make sure that the wires aren't wearing out, and because that could cause issues. Yeah, you'll want to make sure that those things are in line, but those are awesome. If you have one, keep it, don't get rid of it. That is gold. Or ship it to me. If you don't want it, I'll pay for the shipping to come to me. Seriously. That is all I had to say for today. If you have any more questions about sewing machines or any more details that I might have left out, feel free to comment below. I would love to go back and forth with you on that, or give your opinion on what is your favorite brand sewing machine and why do you like it. I would love to hear from you on what you have to say. Also, on other video ideas of what you would like to hear on my YouTube channel, please comment below that as well if you have ideas, because I love to hear from you all on what you would like to see on my channel. So with that said, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, because I have the second part to my pilgrim outfit coming out on Friday. I was actually able to figure out how to fix some of the problems, so you will not want to miss it. So I will see you next time if you hit that subscribe button. Adios, everyone. That was really run over sentence. Okay. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Taylorette, historical costumer and creative sewist, and cheap is not a good sign, and new doesn't mean a good machine, and there are pros and cons to new versus old machines. Buying a machine for yourself or for a friend for Christmas, or family, for a friend or a family member or a stranger. If you would like to know more, I can't mention brands in here because I don't want to discriminate against any brand. Okay.